If you're looking to bring a family member to Canada to live with you, you've probably heard about family sponsorship. Well, today we're zeroing in on one specific path, the Outland journey. This is for when your loved one is currently living outside of Canada. So let's break down exactly how it works. So, is this you? Are you a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, and you're dreaming of bringing your spouse, your partner, your kids, or maybe your parents here to start a new life? If you're nodding your head right now, then you are in exactly the right place. All right, let's get right into it. First things first, what exactly are we talking about when we say Outland sponsorship? What does that term even mean? In a nutshell, Outland sponsorship is pretty straightforward. It's designed for one specific situation. You, the sponsor, are in Canada, and the family member you want to bring here lives somewhere else in the world. The whole goal of this program is to reunite you, right here in Canada, by making them a permanent resident. Okay, before you can even think about sponsoring someone, we've got to look at you. Do you qualify? So let's run through a quick little checklist and see if you tick all the boxes to be a sponsor. So these 5 points are absolutely non-negotiable. You have to be at least 18, you've got to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, and you have to be physically living in Canada. Now, there is a little exception for citizens living abroad, but you have to prove you're going to come back as soon as your relative is approved. And this next one's a biggie. You have to show you can support them financially. This isn't about being rich, it's about meeting a specific income level set by the government. And finally, your own record has to be clean. No major immigration issues, bankruptcy, or certain types of criminal records. All right, let's assume you've checked off all those boxes for yourself. The next huge question is, who can you actually bring to Canada with this program? This program really focuses on your immediate family, your inner circle. So we're talking mainly about your spouse or common law partner and, of course, your dependent kids. Now, parents and grandparents are on this list too, but they often have their own very popular separate application stream. And then, in some pretty rare and specific cases, you might be able to sponsor other relatives, like an orphaned brother or sister who's under 18. So we know who can sponsor and who can be sponsored. But what about the application itself? How does the process really work? Well, the most important thing to remember is that this is a team effort. It's a journey you and your family member take together. And this is absolutely key. You don't send in your paperwork and then they send in theirs later. Nope. You and your relative put together one single giant application package that has both of your parts in it, and you submit the whole thing to Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, that's IRCC, all at once. Think of it like a puzzle with two big pieces that have to fit together perfectly. Your piece is the sponsorship application. That's where you prove to the government that you're an eligible sponsor. Their piece is the permanent residence application. That's where they prove they're eligible to come to Canada. Both are crucial, and they both go in that one package. So what happens after you hit send on that application? Well, IRC starts by looking at your part of the puzzle first. They assess you, the sponsor, to make sure you meet all those requirements we talked about. Only after they give you the green light do they even start looking at your family member's application for permanent residence. Okay, you've submitted everything, you've waited and waited. What happens when you finally get that good news? Let's talk about the final leg of this journey and a couple of really important perks of going the Outland route. Choosing the Outland process when your loved one is abroad isn't just the only option you have. It actually comes with some really significant advantages that you need to know about. And this right here is probably the biggest one. It's a huge difference between Outland and inland sponsorship. That's when your family member is already here in Canada. If an inland application gets refused, it's pretty much game over. But with an Outland application, you have a legal right to appeal that decision. That is a massive safety net that only this pathway gives you. All right, the question on everyone's mind, how long is this whole thing gonna take? Well, the general estimate is anywhere from 8 to 24 months. And yeah, I know that is a pretty wide range, and there's a good reason for that. See, that huge range exists because there's no single one-size-fits-all answer. The actual time it takes really depends on two main things: your relationship, sponsoring a spouse is usually quicker than a parent, for example, and which Canadian visa office around the world is actually handling your file. Some are just a lot busier than others. And here we are, the finish line. Once everything is approved, your loved one gets a document called the Confirmation of Permanent Residence, or COPR for short. This is their golden ticket. They use that piece of paper to travel to Canada, and when they arrive and speak to an officer, they are officially welcomed as a permanent resident. The journey is finally complete. So, we've laid out the whole map for you, from that very first eligibility check all the way to their arrival in Canada. The process has steps and forms, but the outcome, well, that's life-changing. So the real question now is, what incredible new chapter is this journey about to open for you and your family?